I remember a story about a carpenter in a small town. His name was Aaron. He was skilled, not great, not remarkable, just steady. He built chairs, tables, and doors, work that served people quietly. But Aaron had one dream: to build a bridge across the river that cut through his town. Everyone said it couldn't be done. The water was deep, the current strong, the distance enough to humble anyone who tried. Still, Aaron believed he could, so he began. He cut the wood, he shaped the beams, he hauled stones for the foundation. But when he tried to lift the central beam, the one that mattered most, his body gave out. His back ached for days. He couldn't sleep without pain. And in that pain he realized something quietly. Desire does not equal capability. Not yet. The next morning, instead of fighting the beam again, he walked into town. He asked the blacksmith how he strengthened his arms. He asked the boatman how he balanced on water. He asked the old builders how they measured distance and stress. He learned. Then he lifted smaller beams, not the great one, only what his strength could bear. Days passed, then months, then seasons, and slowly, almost without noticing, his strength grew. When the time came to lift the central beam again, he did not struggle. He did not gasp. He did not tremble. He lifted it, not because he forced himself past his limits, but because he had grown into them. A year later, the bridge was complete. Not fast, not dramatic, no miracle, just patience turned into strength. And when people asked Aaron how he did what no one believed possible, he said simply, "I figured what I could do, and acknowledged my limitations. And I walked forward from there." We speak of greatness as if it is sudden, as if transformation is violent. But the truth is softer. You cannot overcome a limit you have not first acknowledged. Every human being has limitations. This is not an insult. It is a fact of being alive. A limitation is simply the point where our current ability ends, the edge of what we know, manage, or understand for now. Yet most people spend their lives pretending those edges don't exist. We're taught to be strong, hold it together, never show weakness. So we hide where we struggle. We mask where we're still growing. We deny the parts of ourselves that are unfinished. But denial doesn't remove a limitation. It only blinds us to it. When we can't see our limits, we can't move beyond them. We repeat mistakes. We overextend ourselves. We compare and feel smaller. This is how exhaustion begins. This is how self-doubt grows. To acknowledge our limits isn't to say, "This is all I'll ever be." It's to say, "This is where I am right now." That kind of honesty is rare. It requires quiet courage. Carl Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Our limitations influence our choices, our reactions, our confidence, whether we see them or not. When we deny our limits, we pretend, we overreach, and we judge ourselves unfairly. But when we recognize them, we ask, we learn, and then we grow. Limitation is not a barrier, it's a marker, a signal of where development is still possible. Our limits are not final. They are temporary points of tension, invitations to expand. And when we see them clearly, we shift from defending ourselves to developing ourselves. This is the genesis of rising above our limits, where overcoming begins. Now, if growth begins with acknowledging limits, why do so many of us refuse to do it? Because we're afraid of what it might mean about us. We grow up believing strength is certainty, the ability to always know, always cope, always handle. So we protect an image of ourselves, even from ourselves. The ego is not the enemy. It's a defense mechanism, trying to shield us from the discomfort of inadequacy. But in doing so, it blinds us to reality. When we deny our limitations, we say, "I should already be better. I should already know how. I shouldn't need help." These aren't truths. They're fears disguised as standards. And they create silent pressure. The pressure to appear whole while still becoming. Many live exhausted, not because life demanded too much, but because they were never allowed to be unfinished. Confucius said, "Real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance." Seneca, in his essay, Tranquility of the Mind, wrote, "It is a great thing to know the measure of one's power." Acknowledging a limitation doesn't reduce us, it grounds us. It gives clarity, direction, and focus. When we say, "This is not my strength yet," we open the door to learning. When we say, "I don't understand this," we create the space for understanding to grow. Self-honesty is not self-criticism. It is self-alignment. A university professor once visited a Zen master to learn about Zen. But the master saw his arrogance, the certainty of a man who thought he already knew. As the master poured tea, he kept pouring even after the cup was full. The tea spilled over, yet the master kept pouring. Until the professor exclaimed, "Stop! The cup is full. No more will go in." Then the master replied, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" When we don't acknowledge our limitations, we let pride block the path to learning. We live in a world that rewards performance over authenticity. So people project confidence instead of cultivating competence. They seek admiration instead of understanding. They try to appear impressive rather than become real. James Baldwin wrote, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." To overcome a limitation, we must first acknowledge, not shamefully, simply, truthfully. This is where I struggle. This is where I feel uncertain. This is what I have not yet developed. These words don't weaken us. They steady us. They allow us to step forward from clarity instead of insecurity. That clarity, that quiet honesty, is the foundation of transformation. Once we recognize our limitations, the next question is simple. How do we move beyond them? The first step is not force, not pressure, not urgency. The first step is presence. To sit with what's difficult, to stay with discomfort instead of fleeing, to look at the limitation without judgment. Growth begins with seeing, not doing. We think overcoming comes through dramatic effort, sudden breakthroughs, extreme willpower. But real growth is quieter, patient, and more deliberate. A tree doesn't grow tall in a morning. It adds one ring at a time, slowly, consistently, year by year. So do we. When we move toward a limitation, resistance appears. It whispers, "This is too much. I don't know how. What if I fail?" We mistake resistance for a stop sign, but it's the space between the familiar and the possible. Viktor Frankl wrote, "What is to give light must endure burning. Not needless suffering, but the gentle heat of stretching beyond what we were yesterday. To overcome a limitation is to work at the edge, not beyond it, not behind it, but right at it. Just enough to expand capacity, not enough to break you. You need patience, you need discipline, and you have to respect your journey of becoming. Then, over time, you will notice the shifts. What once felt impossible becomes manageable. What once overwhelmed becomes familiar. And what once defined your boundary begins to fade. That's overcoming. Not grand, not loud, but steady, lived, earned. And one day you realize, the place where you used to stop is now the place where you begin. Your limitation didn't vanish. You outgrew it. Through understanding, through patience, through practice. The self expands naturally when we stop resisting who we are. Truth is, every limitation is tied to a story we tell about ourselves. A story about who we are and what we can do. Identity isn't fixed. It's fluid. It defines what feels possible. We say, "I can't do this." But what we mean is, "I can't do this yet." The difference between those two sentences is the space where growth lives. Even now, you are positioning yourself toward the next version of you. To overcome limitation is to outgrow the story that keeps you small. To say, "I am becoming." That isn't uncertainty, it's freedom. Growth is not theoretical, it's lived. It's practiced at the edge of resistance. Do what feels uncomfortable, not painfully, but consistently. The difference between those who evolve and those who remain the same is willingness. Willingness to be a beginner again, to stay where growth feels raw, to take one small step beyond comfort. Because readiness isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. When it feels easy, you're no longer growing, you're repeating. So pay attention to the discomfort, not as punishment, but as direction. Where there is resistance, there is potential. Where there is fear, there is room to advance. Where the mind says, "Stop here, take one more quiet step." Just one. Every day. This is how you overcome limitation. Not through force, but through the slow accumulation of courage. The version of you who overcomes your limits is already forming. Each time you choose truth over image, becoming over performing. The work is quiet, but the impact is vast. You are not becoming someone new. You are uncovering who you've always had the potential to be. There is no final arrival. We are always becoming. Your limitations will shift and reshape. That is not failure. That is life. To live is to meet your edges again and again, with patience, honesty, and courage. No one overcomes everything, but some choose to continue. Quietly, faithfully, persistently, toward greater capacity, awareness, and depth. You don't have to rush. You don't have to prove. You only have to remain willing to grow. The rest unfolds. And one day, you'll look back and realize the edge that once defined you is now far behind you. Not because you forced yourself past it, but because you learned to meet yourself fully and move forward, one honest step at a time. What you are becoming is already in motion. This is Life Lessons Archive, where timeless wisdom meets the lessons of today. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, and drop a comment. It may seem small, but it goes a long way in helping us create more content that opens minds and awakens eyes to the lessons hidden in everyday life.